Okay, some of you may have noticed that this is a different background than I normally film in, and that is because we have officially moved. This is my new home library. This is where all of the fun bookish videos are going to be filmed in South Carolina. I filmed the whole process of us moving, so those videos will be coming soon. I'm doing a moving diary series, but not only that, I'm going to be taking you guys along on the process of transforming this space into my dream home library. It already looks great, but we're talking floor to ceiling bookshelves, filling up the entire wall, adding a ladder, chandelier, rugs, seating. It's gonna be a whole thing, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on all of those videos to come, but that's not what today's video is about. Today we are choosing my April TBR. I had put out a poll on Instagram and YouTube asking you guys, how should I choose my monthly TBR? Because I feel like a lot of people are doing the TBR jar prompts, and for good reason. I love watching those videos too, but I thought maybe I could choose via a random number generator or just choosing from my most anticipated reads. So I put out a poll asking you guys what you would like to see, and majority voted TBR jar. So here we are. I'm giving the people what they want. If you guys have any creative ideas on how I should choose my TBR next month, I would love some more ideas and maybe change things up a little bit, but let's just get into the prompts. First prompt. I think I'm gonna pick 5 prompts because I don't wanna put too much on my plate, especially with all of the footage that I have to comb through and edit from moving. Like, not gonna have the most time to read this month, but let's see. The first prompt is a book with a landscape on the cover. Honestly, one that immediately came to mind was Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. This is the one and only book that I have ever purchased solely based on the cover. I never buy books judging by their covers, but I saw this one at Barnes in the Christian fiction section. It's just so pretty to me. So this would totally work with that prompt because literally the reason I bought it was because of the cover. But let's just take a gander at some other options. I do have Riverbend Gap by Denise Hunter. I did also recently pick this one up. It has a beautiful landscape. I feel like all of Denise Hunter's books have landscapes. Yeah, I have Love Unscripted. This is kind of a landscape, but less so. Bookshop by the Sea. Those could work. I don't know if this qualifies as a landscape. I just really want to read this book, so I'm hoping some other prompt will pop up so that I can finally start this trilogy, but I don't necessarily think that qualifies as a landscape. Gentle and Lowly. This could work. And I do really want to read this book. This is not really a landscape, but kind of. Like, it's got nature on it, but I don't know if I would describe it as a landscape. No. I suppose Beneath the Scarlet Sky would kind of be a landscape. Let me think, what is like a really anticipated read that I want to get to and see if that would have a landscape on it, because I feel like there's just going to be a ton of options. The Midwife of Auschwitz kind of has a landscape, but that's not really the primary thing on the cover. The Kite Runner, kind of a landscape, I would say. But do I want that kind of emotional trauma right now? Honestly, yeah. So I'm gonna leave this as an option. Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon would totally work because it's literally just a landscape, but I don't really want to read this one right now. So I'm gonna say these 4 are the options. I have Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortland. I've heard really great things about that. That's a Christian nonfiction. And then I have Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. This is a Christian historical fiction that takes place in Iowa in 1903. I think this is a romance too, maybe, possibly. Love Unscripted by Denise Hunter. Honestly, I kind of really want to read this one because I feel like it's going to be a great springtime read, especially since it's pretty hot here in South Carolina right now. I kind of want something summery and light and easy, so this would be a good option. And then obviously The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, which is like the complete opposite of the last book that I just talked about, opposite of light and fluffy, but I think this takes place in Afghanistan, so this does take place in like a summery climate, I'm pretty sure. Honestly, this is really hard. It's between these 3. I just don't know what I want to read. Let's read a blurb. This one says, Christians know what Jesus Christ has done, but who is he? What is his deepest heart for his people, weary, faltering on their journey toward heaven? Jesus said he is gentle and lowly in heart. This book reflects on these words, opening up a neglected yet central truth about who he is for sinners and sufferers today. And I don't know if I'll get another prompt that'll work with a nonfiction, so maybe I should just choose this one. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with Gentle and Lowly just because I don't know if I'm gonna have another prompt that'll work for a nonfiction, and I do want to read one nonfiction every month, so we'll just play it safe and start off with this one. First prompt down, now let's pick another one. This is tiny. I got a reread, but since I'm trying to tackle my physical TBR right now, I'm gonna go ahead and skip that prompt. You may say it's cheating, but it's my video. I'm making the rules. Second prompt. It says a book with an object in the title. Let's just go down here into the corner. This is all of the books that are series that I'm in the middle of. So an object. Well, a gun is an object. I could choose Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun. I don't know if a shadow is necessarily an object. No, it's not. I think the only one that would work down here is Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, which honestly is a really great springtime, like summery read. So that would be a really good choice, but let's look at some other options before I go ahead and choose. The Picture of Dorian Gray would work because a picture is an object. I wouldn't necessarily say a mouse is an object. That's kind of like a living thing. Yeah, I think the only one that would work here is the Picture of Dorian Gray, and I'm not sure if I want to read that one right now. I did not get to the Fellowship of the Ring, and the ring is totally an object, so I could just pick that one, which is honestly what I'm gonna do because I was really excited to get to this one because I picked this in my March TBR, but I just didn't get around to reading it, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose this one, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Time for the third prompt. This one says a real person on the cover. So not like a doodled animated person, but like a photo of an actual human being on the cover. Straight away, one comes to mind because this is my most recent purchase. Right whenever we moved here, I made a list of all of the bookstores closest to me, and I went to an indie bookstore in downtown Somerville, and they barely had a Christian section, but they did have a tiny little section with a local Charleston author who writes Christian romance, so I did pick one up there. It is T.I. Lowe's Lulu's Cafe, and she did sign this copy since, like I said, she is local to Charleston, and this would totally work. It's a picture of a real person, and I did just buy this one, so this would be an amazing choice and probably what I'm gonna choose, but let me just double check first to make sure there's no other options. Is this a real person? No, that's a painting. Ooh, I could choose this one, Stay With Me by Becky Wade. This is another Christian romance that I've heard really, really good things about, but I believe that would be starting a series. Again, don't really want to start another series right now. I say this in every video because this pile haunts me. Ooh, I could totally pick a classic. I mean, never mind. That's not a real person, I don't think. I think that's a painting. Yeah, that's a doodle. I think these are all doodles. Ooh, I know what one I'm gonna pick. I can't reach it. I cannot wait to get my ladder. There's also gonna be another extension shelf up there, so it's literally gonna go up and touch the ceiling, so I'm for sure gonna need a ladder. But this is the book that I'm gonna be choosing, Lovely War by Julie Berry, because this is my book club book for the month. And if I can find a prompt that works with my book club book, I'm gonna do it because I can't read that much. Like, I know some booktubers are amazing and they can read like 10 or 15 books a month, but that ain't me, and it never will be. So I'm gonna double up and choose Lovely War by Julie Berry. Next prompt, I think we have 2 more to go. Oh, this is a big one. Okay, this is fun. A book that has a spine that doesn't match the cover. So for instance, the spine would be blue, but the cover would be like yellow or something. So let's go back by the shelves and do some scouring. One that would work, which is actually really funny because it has a yellow spine and a blue cover, is The Matchmaker by Catherine Walsh. I do have her newest book. I think it's called How to Write a Love Story on my NetGalley because I did get that one as an ARC, but I can't choose any of those because I don't know what the spines look like. So this has to be a book for my shelf. So that one would be an option. The Correspondent by Virginia Evans could be an option. I do really want to read this one, but I don't know if I want to read it this month because I'm currently reading Theo of Golden, and though this book deals with letters, Theo of Golden deals with drawn canvases, and he writes letters to people to meet them, so I don't know if this would feel too redundant for me to read back-to-back books with letters, but that could be an option. The Academy by Ellen Hilderbrand, but I don't really want to read this one right now. This one could maybe work. The Collected Regrets of Clover, because the cover is more dark. It does have this yellow that matches the spine, but the cover is more like dark and blue. They don't necessarily match. Could be an option, but maybe a stretch. Another one, yellow spine, blue cover, Lulu's Cafe. I did just mention this one. Isn't her signature so adorable? And I don't have a romance on the TBR yet, but both of these options are romances. I don't have any other options. I guess I have one option. This is my War and Peace edition, but this is like a pretty kind of like mauvish purple. The majority of the cover is green, but this kind of matches, but like it's not flush and it's not fluid. So this could be an option. I can barely even hold this thing. I just think this cover is so darling, but like, is it that serious? I don't know. Not to mention the font size in this, absolutely criminal. Like, that's worse than my Bible. My Bible has bigger text than this. So this is kind of giving small town grumpy sunshine, but with characters that have some depth. This one sounds more like a rom-com with some enemies to lovers in a small town. So both sound good. Let's see, which one is shorter? That's gonna do it for me. Okay, this one has 333 pages, and this one has 282. So that settles it. I'm gonna go with Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe. Time to choose the final prompt. I might pick one more if I want some more variety, but I feel like we have a pretty good blend of genres going on right now. And this one says a book with a black and white cover. That is a perfect opportunity to pick a Penguin classic. So let's just head over there. This is pretty black and white. This is Emma by Jane Austen. Jane Eyre is also pretty darn black and white. Pilgrim's Progress has a little more going on to it. This is totally black and white. Oh no. Oh, this actually dead on fits the prompt. Full on black and white. This is The Power and the Glory by Graham Greene. The Death of a Salesman would also work because that's full on black and white as well. That's a tough one, truly. It would feel nice to pick this one because it's so short. I don't know if I'm gonna like it as much as I would like The Power and the Glory or Crime and Punishment. That's actually so hard. I don't know. I have read Dostoevsky before. I read White Nights by him, and I did enjoy his prose, though it was a little bit melancholy. I did really like that book. Am I ready for like like more melancholy though. Like this is a lot. It says it's a great novel of damnation and redemption. It tells a story of a desperate former student who wanders through the slums of St. Petersburg and commits a random murder without remorse or regret. He imagines himself to be beyond conventional moral laws, but as he embarks on a dangerous game of cat and mouse with the police investigator, he's pursued by the growing voice of his conscience and finds the noose of his own guilt tightening around his neck. I had no idea what this book was about, but that sounds amazing. Am I gonna read Crime and Punishment this month? Okay, let me read what the other two are about. Okay, this one's The Power and the Glory. Oh yeah, I remember. This takes place in Mexico in the 1930s, and there's a lot more biblical themes in here since it takes place with the Catholic Church and a priest who can't quite practice what he preaches. It says it's a stunning portrait of both physical and spiritual survival. See, this is why I just am in my classic era right now, because so many of the modern books aren't doing it for me anymore with like their themes and their messaging. I just feel like I can't really enjoy them anymore. I used to read only secular books, and in a lot of cases there's nothing wrong with that if they have like biblical messaging, but most modern books nowadays just don't write like that anymore. Like they take morally gray and then they make it morally black and then they make you root for them, and I just like sick and tired of that. So that's why I have a whole little shelf here of Penguin classics, because I've been on a kick lately, because I feel like they're just scratching that itch that I couldn't find with any modern books. The last option would be Death of a Salesman. It says Willie Loman, the protagonist of Death of a Salesman, has spent his life following the American way, living out his belief in salesmanship as a way to reinvent himself, but somehow the riches and respect he covets has eluded him. At age 63, he searches for the moment his life took a wrong turn, the moment of betrayal that undermined his relationship with his wife and destroyed his relationship with Biff, the son in whom he invested all his faith. See, you can tell all of like the underlying themes are pretty similar with the classics, and I love that. This is like really tough. I have no idea what I want to pick. I might have to put out a poll and ask you guys what I should pick, because I just cannot choose. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like, how do you choose between three amazing books? You just can't. Okay, let me set up the poll. Okay, so which book should I add to my April TBR? Oh, which book? Now let's post one on Instagram. I feel like Crime and Punishment will win just because like everybody knows what that book is. So I'm gonna let that poll sit for a little bit, but in the meantime, I think I'm gonna pick one more prompt just because like, I don't know. Why not? Bonus prompt. Maybe I can pick a NetGalley book or like an ARC with this one, hopefully, because I do have a lot of ARCs that I need to read. There's a book with an orange cover. So let's just see if there's a book with an orange cover that I really want to read physically. I really want to read This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi, and it's not necessarily orange, but it kind of is on the bottom. It's more so like gold, which is like a shade of orange. So this could work, but I'm gonna check my NetGalley and see if there's a different option that might work a little bit better. I do have The Shippers by Catherine Center. It looks pink, but like it's more so an ombre where the orange is at the top and then the pink is at the bottom. That one could work. Sense and Suitability by Pepper Basham, but that's more like a yellow, not an orange. I'm gonna say this qualifies because half of it is orange. So it's between these two, but I did want to pick an extra prompt so I could read an ARC and have all of my reviews submitted on time. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and choose The Shippers by Catherine Center. Let me go through and recap all of the books that I read in March. So these were the books that were on my TBR for the month of March, and this is how many I read. But I am currently reading some of them. Like I said, we were moving to another state, so I knew I wasn't gonna read too much, but it's still fun to choose TBRs anyways. But I think we're gonna do a better job this month of actually reading and completing the TBR, but that may just be wishful thinking. So the first book that I finished in March was The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, and I give that one a 4.25 stars. I feel like the vastness of this book and just the depth of all of the politics in the world he created should make it a 5-star. However, it just took me a really long time to read. Like some of those books kind of feels like a chore to read sometimes, especially when they're long. And I did feel like that at times, but I really, really loved the messaging in this book. There was so much Christian allegory, it's insane. And they're basically fighting demons. And there was no swearing, there was no smut, there was nothing like that. So this is one of those secular books that I think is a really good recommendation for Christians as well, because there's actually faith discussions in this book, even though it's not a Christian book. Like their God that they serve is named El. So like if you're a Christian, you can like pick up on that little Easter egg. And I did really, really enjoy this book, and I'm looking forward to reading the second one. Looking back, I'm like, maybe instead of a 4.25, I should make it a 4.5, just because like I really enjoyed it and I would really recommend it. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it at a 4.25. But I feel like the series has potential to become like a 5-star series, if that makes sense. And then next, I read The Second Story Bookshop. This was a book that I had completed off of my March TBR, and I rated this one a 4.25 as well. This one was giving me 5-star feelings. Like through and through from the beginning. But then like the longer it went on, it just kind of got a little more out there. I just personally didn't necessarily love the direction it went, and I felt like the ending was just a little bit like, I kind of wanted some things to change, and I'm being very vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but I still gave it a 4.25, and I still would really, really recommend it. I thought it was such a cute small town second chance read, and like I said, it was giving me 5-star feels in the beginning, so I loved it so much, and I would really, really recommend it. And then next I read The Burning Side by Sarah Demoff, and I gave this one a 4.75 stars. It was so good, and it was my favorite read of the month. I don't think this one releases until May, but I'll put the exact release date up here so you guys know when it comes out, because you need to mark your calendars for this one. But I will say read with discernment, because it's about a couple who is planning on going through a divorce, but their house burns down, so they have to move in with her parents and then figure out like what they're gonna do with their lives after they lost everything. But it's also like so much more than that, because these characters, like, it's not about the divorce, it's about them healing themselves, and in turn figuring out like, oh, if I want to have success and health in my marriage, in my parenting, in anything in life, I'm the one who needs to be healed. So like it's more so like a family journey. There's a lot of family drama because there's health issues, and it's literally just like some of those books you read just feel like you're reading life, and that was one of those books. Like I feel like I personally know these characters, and just some of the stuff she wrote about motherhood was like gut-wrenching to me. You get from granddaughter to grandma, and it's just, it was so good, and I feel like I'm not doing it justice, but I don't want this to be like a wrap-up video where I go really in depth. But there is some fade to black spice, but I don't care. They're a married couple, like go off. The only problem that I have with spice or smut is whenever it's between a couple who isn't married. But if you're married, I mean, do your thing. So I had no problems with that, and it was still fade to black, so there was nothing in depth. However, obviously they're getting a divorce, and the reason for that divorce, that gets unpacked in a very like realistic and raw way. Whenever you make a mistake like that, you have real, tangible, hard consequences, and I feel like the book does an amazing job on touching about that subject, and it doesn't glorify it. The book was amazing, and I would personally really recommend it, but if you're sensitive to those topics, read with caution. However, I would really, really recommend this book. I loved it so much. It was very gritty, very reflective, and it was romance, but it was also like women's fiction, but it was also like family. I don't know. It was just so good. Such a good, realistic slice of life. And it's one of those books that I would recommend to everyone, but especially if you're a mom, I feel like you would have an extra appreciation for it. And then next I read Terms and Traditions. I started this book back in December, but I got like 60% through, and I just decided to DNF since it's kind of like a Christmas book, and I just wasn't in the mood for it anymore. Now that it's like spring, but it feels like summer here in South Carolina, so I'm like, I don't really want to read this one right now. So I DNF'd. I rated it a 3-star. I think maybe I'll come back to it later. We'll see. But for now, that's where that's sitting. All right, the poll's been up for a little bit, and the consensus is what I thought it would be. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Can't lie, I'm terrified, but also very intrigued and excited. So let's do a little recap. So the first prompt was a landscape on the cover, and I picked Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortland. The second prompt was an object in the title, and I picked The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Third prompt was a picture of a real person on the cover, and I picked Lovely War by Julie Berry. Next prompt was a spine that didn't match the cover, and I picked Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe. Fifth prompt was a black and white cover, and I picked Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. The last prompt was a book with an orange cover, and I picked The Shippers by Catherine Center. So this is the reading plan for the month. I am so excited about it. I feel like we have a really great variety here. We've got some romance, we've got nonfiction, we've got fantasy, we've got classics. I feel like I'm gonna have a really fun time reading this month. But if you have any fun video ideas that could go together with any of these books, let me know. And also leave a comment below on what books you're planning to read in the month of April. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I pray you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!